Hi everybody, I'm Phil Rowley from ukuleleworship.org. Today we're talking about some ukulele basics. In the last video we started talking about some chords. So if you haven't seen that video, go back and watch that one. Now I'm going to show you some things you can do to practice moving from chord to chord. So I'm assuming you've already practiced the little exercise I showed you where you take your fingers on and off the fretboard and grab those chords with all your fingers, okay? Try that with each chord. Here's your F chord. Here's your G chord, okay? Okay, now what we want to do is we want to get so we can play without really thinking too much about it from the C chord to the F chord to the G chord. We can go any direction with those three chords, okay? That's what we're trying to achieve here, okay? And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with the C chord. And I'm just going to play 4 C chords, and I'm going to go to the F chord, and I'm going to go back to the C chord. I'm just going to use those 2 chords for a few minutes, okay? So starting with the C chord. Now you'll notice when I'm playing the C chord, I'm using the 3rd finger, and my first 2 fingers are actually right here, ready to go for the F chord. So there's not much movement. I'm not doing this. I don't have this finger here, and the other 2 are behind the neck or over here somewhere. I'm holding the C chord, but my first 2 fingers are ready to go for that F chord. So there's almost barely any movement when I do that, okay? Okay, so I'm going to try 4 C chords and then 4 F chords and then back to the C, just back and forth like that, 4 of each of those chords, okay? Here's a little exercise you can practice real slowly now. You got to do it slow until you get it down, okay? Here you go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now switch to the F. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to the C. 1, 2, 3, 4, F. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to the C. Now, you notice when I'm playing that, all my strings are ringing out. So make sure that when you're playing this, listen to your strings. Are you getting a full sound when you switch to the chord? If you're not, go slower, slow down, or maybe practice just doing 1 chord and then go to the other chord, the F chord. And make sure when you get there, you're not getting this. See how some of those strings are not ringing out? I don't want that. I want all the strings to ring out. So just practice going back and forth from the C to the F. You got to spend a lot of time just practicing those, okay? And all the time, my thumb is right behind the neck. So I'm really supporting my fingers with my thumb back there. Okay? Okay, now we're going to add that G chord. Now let's do the same thing we just did. Let's go from the C chord to that G chord. Okay? So let's start with 4 of each, and then we'll just go back and forth like that. Okay? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Now the G chord. 1, 2. Now you notice all my strings are ringing. Are your strings ringing out? Back to the C. 1, 2, 3. To the G. 1, 2, 3, back to the C. 1, 2, 3, back to the G. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we end on the C. Okay, so same thing there. When you're practicing grabbing that G, you don't want to go, you don't want to grab 1 finger at a time. If you're still struggling with that, go back and do some of these. Do this exercise where you're grabbing all 3 at one time, okay? That's a really important thing, that you grab them all at once. Okay, now we could also practice going from the F to the G. So let's try that. So start with the F, same thing. We'll do 4 of each chord, okay? Here we go. 1, ready, go. F, 2, 3, 4. Now the G. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to the F. 1, 2, 3. Back to the G. 1, 2, 3. Back to the F. 1, 2, 3, 4, G. Okay, so you want to practice those 3 chords in all different combinations. Now let's practice this. Let's go C to the F to the G to the C. Okay, so we're going to go around in that little circle there. Okay, here we go. Starts on the C. 4 of each chord. Ready, go. C, G, 3, 4, F. 1, 2, 3. Down to the G. G, 2, the C. 1, 2, 3. Now back to the F. 1, 2, 3. To the G. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then to the C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, so you could do that in any different combination. The key here is you want to grab those chords with all your fingers at one time. Don't put one finger down and then the other. You want to break that habit right from the beginning. Try to grab the chord with all your fingers, okay? And as you go along, you're going to learn a lot more chords. Every time you learn a new chord, it's a great thing to just sit down and practice doing that little exercise, then practice going from one chord that you already know to that new chord. That's a great way to practice, but the key is really go slow. Slow down. All right, from ukuleleworship.org. We'll see you next time.